Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Clifton Boland. Thank you for joining me. It's rare to hear good news, isn't it? It's rare. We're bombarded with all this negative news, negative political news, high crime rates, high gas prices, inflation, high food prices, high everything. The only thing that's not high is the morale of the people. But there is good news. Every now and then you might get a little good news every now and then to kind of like balance things off so people don't go crazy. And that is that the GOP, the grand old party, the Republican Party, is significantly pulling a significant amount of blacks away from the progressive Democratic Party. And that according to the article that I'm about to read, there are 100 black Republicans that will be running for November during the midterms. That is good news, and it is significantly affecting the Democratic Party. Now, when I say that, I'm not trying to be divisive or anything like that, but I am a conservative. I have not always been a conservative. For most of my life, I've been a registered Democrat. It wasn't until 2016 that I found out what the Democratic Party was all about. But that's another story. I can deal with, to some extent, moderate Democrats. Okay, I probably wouldn't vote for them, but I could deal with them. These are progressive Democrats. These Democrats that are in office right now, like Joe Biden and others, are what's known as progressive Democrats. They're radicals, and their political agendas is really pushing away a lot of black voters, and they're losing their black voter base. So let's get into this right now, get into this article, and let's find out just how this has affected change. This is such good news. The title of the article is End of an Era, GOP Erodes Black Support Away from Democrats, Over 100 Black Republicans Running for Office. Black Americans have started to support Republicans in droves as their approval of Democrats have diminished over the years, paving the way for over 100 black conservatives throughout the country to run for office in 2022. Isn't that good news? The article goes on to say, in the current 2022 midterm election, over 100 black Republicans are running in primary elections at all levels, with over 70 of those candidates running for Congress. Republicans, after striving to win back the House in 2020, left the Democrats with the slimmest majority in modern history and gave themselves the upper hand in the midterms. To win the majority requires a net gain of only 5 Republican seats in November, and a lot is on the line in both the House and the Senate. Losing either one of the chambers could mean the Democrats and Biden will have a more challenging time passing their partition agenda items before the next presidential election. So this is good news. This is good news. And I think that like I said, I hate to make it a racial thing, but let's deal with it. It is, because a significant number of blacks throughout the years for quite a few decades have voted Democrat, and many of them, and for the most part, they haven't seen any real good coming out of that. We have, in most Democrat cities and states, they have the highest crime rate because of Democratic policies that go soft on criminals. It's high crime rate, high immorality, and just all these negative things in these kinds of cities and states. So it's good news to read this kind of information. But I'm gonna skip some stuff. I want to read some other excerpts from this article that I think is very, very interesting, and I'm going to get right into my comments on this. So it says, the bottom line is that while the Democrats double down on their failed policies, notice it says they double down on their failed policies. Instead of trying to change, what do the progressive Democrats do? They double down. What are you doing? It makes no sense. The bottom line is that while the Democrats double down on their failed policies pushed by a failing administration that overplays their divisive rhetoric, Republicans are committed to enacting policies that lift all Americans from every black background and embodied by black Republican candidates across the country, such as Texas's Wesley Hunt and Michigan's John James, seen as rising stars in the party. And before I go any further, reading this good news here in this article, it kind of grieves my heart a little bit, because as a Clevelander, for so many years, all I have seen in terms of the mayor and who people vote for here in the city of Cleveland is always Democrat. This is a Democrat-run city. If you mention anything about the Republicans, black people in general here in the city of Cleveland just go crazy. And it just makes me so angry. I wish it was something that I could do about that. But trying to convince black people in the city of Cleveland that maybe you should try a Republican. If you complaining about the high crime, which the city of Cleveland has one of the highest crime rates in the country. Gee, I wonder why. For the last few decades, all we've had is Democratic mayors who have slapped the wrist of all these criminals. Now we got criminals and child molesters and child rapists and all kinds of people walking the street. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And then we wonder what's going on. Ignorant, man. It just, forgive me, I don't mean to say ignorant, but it infuriates me. It infuriates me to see this kind of stuff going on, to hear black people complaining about it. And then when you try to show them a possible solution, they get mad, they get upset. Anyway, as the support from black voters have diminished over the years, Republican candidates such as former President Donald Trump, yes, I said it, Donald Trump, have made inroads from the minority communities after showing support across the country. And this is interesting because someone honestly asked me this question some time ago. They said, what are the Republicans doing? Right, because they figure, the Republicans it's not the way to go for black people in terms of the political ideology. And they asked a very relevant question. They said, why is it so what are the Republicans doing right now? I mean, this is when Trump got out of, I think this is when, let me take that back. I think this is when Trump first got in office, first couple of years. And he was saying things like, well, what are the Republicans doing? What are they doing in the black community? And he said, because they're not really doing anything. And I said, the primary reason for that is because, and this is the fault of Republicans, I fault them for this, is that they generally have turned away from doing campaigns in black cities and black areas because blacks automatically assume that the Republican Party is only for the rich and they're racist, so they're not going to bother to vote for them. So a lot of the Republican candidates and Republican politicians have decided not to campaign in Democrat-run black cities. They figure, what's the point? Why waste our campaign money in cities and places where they're not going to listen to us anyway? So they don't even spend any time. They just turn their back on basically the Republican Party of the past. Before Trump got in, let me correct that. Before Trump got in, basically turned their back on the black community. At one point, from the late 1800s all the way to like 1930, at least, blacks vote, according to some sources, blacks voted for the Republican Party at a 90% rate. There were more black Republicans during that time than there are now, but that's a whole nother story and a whole nother video. There was a reason for that because blacks at that time knew and understood that it was the Republican Party at that time that were the ones that were fighting for equal rights for blacks, fighting for them to have equal housing and all the rest. But it was a Democratic Party at that time that fought against the black people, black voters. It was the Democrats that was fighting against them. But something happened between that time. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I just want to complete this here. So basically, to sum it all up, the Republicans that basically turned their back, they just turned away from it and just said, forget it. It wasn't until Trump got in office and he started campaigning towards blacks that blacks started looking towards the Republican Party as a viable party to begin to vote for now. So now we're seeing that under the Biden administration and how Biden's policies are not helping anybody, not only the blacks, but whites and all over this country, not helping anybody, helping people in Ukraine. It's helping their billionaire campaign donors, but is it helping anyone? Name it. See, we got to be real with ourselves, man. We really have to be real with ourselves. And I want this stuff. Well, we got to fight climate change. Man, come on. Please give me a break. How many people you really believe in America is all in a hoopla over climate change? That's what the Biden administration is pushing, climate change. Really? Do you think a vast majority of Americans going to a 9-to-5 job is Putin and snotting about climate change? Man, come on, let's be realistic. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry, like Bill Bixby say. Let's get into let's keep reading further. When every vote tends to count in an election, CNN pointed out that the network's 2020 exit polls showed Democrats winning the national House election votes with 75 points advantage of the black vote, 87% to 12%. And data from Catalyst shows the Democrats having a 79-point advantage with the black vote, 89% to 10%. That means on average, black voters went Democrat with a 77-point margin during the 2020 House races. And that's good news as well. That's good news as well. But I want to bring something else out here that I think is very, very interesting here. And it's a quote from one of the editors here. He says a recent poll from Gallup showed that Biden's approval rating among black Americans has also decreased by 20 points from the beginning of his presidency to April. At the beginning of his presidency, Biden saw an 87% approval rating with black adults. That's a shame. 87% approval rating. I guarantee you it's based on all the lies he told them, which fell to 74% by the summer of 2021. Gee, I wonder why. As of April, his approval with black adults dropped to 67%, a drop of 20 points, 20 total points. But here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line, folks. The Biden administration and many of the progressive Democrats have failed black people here in America. Now, honestly, like I told you before, I don't vote for them and I'm not going to vote for them. But I've been saying for the longest, as well as many black conservatives, that they're lying to you. The Biden administration is lying to you. They're pandering to you, telling you the things that you want to hear. But Biden said out of his own, I guess about it, and they accuse Trump of being a racist, right? He's a racist. He's a racist. I said this before and I'll say it again. You get Biden on TMZ being interviewed, and what does he tell Charlemagne the God, whatever they call him? He calls himself, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Now, decipher that for me. Make an excuse of why he said that. He said what was in his heart. Right there should have been a question mark. Wait a minute. Is he really for us? Now that he's in office, what have he done not only for blacks, but what have he done for any American other than his globalist side boys and his globalist house players that are pushing his globalist agenda? Oh, he's making them happy, but is he making you happy? Huh? Tell me. Think about it. So I want to end on that note. I just want to end on this note. This is good news for all Americans, but blacks in specific. It's good for blacks in specific. It shows that black people in general are not as dumb as these Democrats think they are. They're not as ignorant as Democrats think they are. They see high gas prices. They see high food prices. They see all this type of stuff going on, and it's going on and going on and going on. And then when Biden gets up on the stage to do a press conference or whatever, the press asks him questions, and he brushes it off like it's nothing. And that would be like somebody asking him a question whether you retire or not. He's like, that would be a good idea. You know, okay, I get it. He's a professional. He's a consummate politician. I get it. Okay. But he's a swamp rat, as far as I'm concerned. He knows how to play the people. He knows how to calm the people down when they shouldn't be calmed down. The people should be enraged. The people should be angry. All races, all ethnic groups in America should be angry. And his professional rhetoric and, oh, no big deal. It's no big deal. That's cool. Maybe I should retire. Shouldn't be able to work on anybody. People should be able to see past this little professional rhetoric, okay? But I just wanted to say that I'm very vocal about this, and I kind of be a little intensive about it, but it is what it is. That's how I feel, that's what I believe, and that's what I stand on. So what do you guys think about this? You think this is good news? I certainly do. Leave your comments in the comment section below if you like this video. Press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again.